Welcome, boys. I've been really looking forward to doing this. I've got to say, for ages and ages and ages, wanted to do a West Ham channel with two absolutely fantastic good friends. So this is our first recording. We are West Ham United 1895. A name come up by Martin and Stuart between them. And we hopefully you enjoyed the channel and you could write some nice comments about us. Stu, tell us a little bit about yourself and West Ham, of course. Let's start with you, sir.
Yeah, what about myself? I think everybody knows
Well,
about
you and your West Ham journey.
well, my West Ham journey started 1975, the FA Cup final against Fulham. That's when it started, and then that was the bug, I suppose. And it was probably 2 or 3 years later that I was old enough to start going on my own, and that's when the fun started. Because, well, as you know, Duggy, end of the 70s through the 80s, mate, we experienced some good times and some bad times, but they're all character building in my eyes. But no, I've been, like I say, I've been a West Ham fan, proper West Ham fan since 75, even though I'm 63 this year. But yeah, I've loved West Ham. My family are from Bethnal Green. I mean, so it's in my blood anyway, I'm an East End boy, and I will be till the day I die.
What he ain't told you is he's got X amount of football shirts all around his bedroom. He is like a stick of rock, Stu. If you break him open, he is real West Ham. Martin, how about you, sir? Same for you.
Not born from up round there. Born in Kent, Maidstone, Kent. A lot of my fans, a lot of my fans, all cool. A lot of my old mates and that, they all supported like Man United and Liverpool back in the day, and me and a mate of mine called Spence, he supported West Ham, and I picked West Ham because I didn't want to be like the others and all that. Like, I wanted to have something unique, and we were fortunate enough as kids to be taken up there to a game, and we got the train up, got the tube to obviously up to East Ham, and we walked our way up there, and I'll never forget it because it's like so far away from where the tube station was that we got off, and we were walking up and we were passing the boozers, and the closer we got to the ground, the louder it got, the more goosebumps I was getting, and it was just like one of these feelings that I'd never experienced before. Let alone to walk into like the bowling and it's all spit and sawdust and like, loads of people wearing their colours, and like it was just like the first time in my life. It was this weird sense of like belonging. Everyone singing and being together, and it was something that I'd not experienced. So, I was addicted from minute one. And when I walked into that ground after 30 days bloody burger van, stopped there and got like a burnt burger with onions and stuff.
Boiled burgers, weren't they? A lot of them were boiled burgers back then as well.
Yeah, the same old geezer that was stood on the corner selling the old bloody programmes. It was just like a really nice experience, and I felt addicted to it. It's just like I want to feel that again. And when we got into the ground, I was just in awe of it. It was, you look at the grounds and that today, but back then, for the first proper stadium that I'd been in, it just blew my fucking mind. It really did. So, I felt really blessed to be there. Felt part of something that I hadn't felt before, and I just wanted that. And that was where my journey started, So, ended up getting a season ticket. My last game watching West Ham was West Ham Man United, last game of the season at the bowling. And because of the things that happened with whoever took over, I decided not to go back until we saw all the promises they made. But sadly, none of that came to fruition, so I haven't been back since.
My journey is the same as yours, really, Martin. My dad, I think because of what happened with Man United in 58, the whole country, I think, was stunned, wasn't they? And obviously, he grew up on the Busby Babes and everything else. And he was and he was a Man United fan. And So, like, he would try to dress me. Well, he did dress me in Man United kits, predominantly George Best tops. And at that time, you know, you had to get someone in to put the numbers on the shirts, the sevens and that. But obviously, I lived in Wapping, E1, and a lot of my friends was West Ham. I remember a guy called Johnny Eagle, I think, and he went to the 75 Cup final, and he'd come down the stairs with this great big hammer. I mean, I can't even remember what it was made from, whether it was made from cardboard or wood. I thought, how are you going to get in the ground with that? Honestly, if he would have hit some, it would have knocked them out. And he said, I ain't got a ticket when I'm going home. I'm going to beat up the tower and get in the ground. Whether it was a load of crap, I'm like, I don't know. But he went and he told me he got in the ground. And obviously, a bit like Stu, really, you know, as I got older and went to school with my friends, my mate's sister bought me this, one of my mates who sadly died watching West Ham. And when I started going with the boys, it was just the away games. As much as I loved going over Upton Park, the away games you really was like a family. Started on the coaches, the Lacey's coaches, you know, which quickly outgrew them. Didn't really like that, but I just remember it being such a male-dominated place. You know, when I look round now. And when they scan the fans, for some unknown reason, the cameras at the moment, they like to go into the crowd, don't they? Especially if there's one famous person. I think ours is Danny Dyer. Do we really want to look at him all night? No, we don't. But I always remember, for me, it seemed to be middle-aged men. I don't know whether because I was younger and they was all a lot taller, and obviously. But my uncle Derek took me over there in '67, and we lost 6-1 at home to Man United. But the noise, if I'm really honest, I didn't see much of the game. I stood at the North Bank. It was quite intimidating. I was only 5, and I just stayed out the way. But you are right. The burgers, the smell. I remember walking down and hearing the greengrocers. And you know, like when they sell their bananas, and they had 5 bananas for £1, and you hear all the, shouting out. And when you come out the game at the end, they'd all have a hoarse voice, wouldn't they? Where they'd all lost their voices. The guy with a cardboard with X amount of badge pins. At that point, you could buy a rosette. Do you remember rosettes?
Yeah, and the old rattles.
This round lumps of silk round here and that. And for me, that's what brought it on. And I fell out of love a little bit as we've gone along the way. But like I've tried to say for everybody, it's been such a part of my life now that I treat it a bit like my family. And when I hear constant negativity around me, as I've been saying to Stu for a while now, it's sort of like someone, having a go at you with your family. I want to go back to the start of this season, boys. I've named this video the West Ham's roller coaster of a season. I've got to say, I don't think I've ever felt so tired, so wound up, so fed up. But if I look back to past seasons, I think this us going down has been inevitable. And I also think it's probably going to do us the world of good. What's come afterwards, we'll speak about in the end, because with the Sullivan issue. But go back to the start of this season, Martin. Did you really believe we was going to be in another relegation fight? Because I did.
I honestly thought that we were gonna struggle, just for the sole reason of how we finished off the year before. It's been on the cards, since the European win, which, let's have the reality, we were in a 35-game relegation battle that year, and we only just managed to get out of it. So, it's been on the cards for a while. I was hoping that we weren't going to get dragged into it, but, was I surprised? No. I mean, we'd done bits and pieces before, haven't we? We discussed it. We looked at how we were going to survive and, the probability of it. And we thought that there was a possibility, but, the season on the whole for me was just extremely disappointing from in more than one way, not just the football.
Do you find, though, just before I get to Stu, sorry, Stu, but do you find it started to actually physically get to you and change your emotions at games? Games. Stu has been at me all season when I'd go, it's a point, Stu, and he'd go, it's not good enough, Duggy. We need free. And he's been right. He's turned out to be right. But did you not find throughout the season, it was driving me mad. I was sort of, in the end, by the end of the season, I didn't even want games to come round, because I knew it was going to affect my day and I knew it was going to affect my moods in the house, Martin. Was you the same?
Well, we all met on a mental health course, didn't we? So, shout out to James, who got us all together. And, that's where our journey started. We all know that our mental health isn't great in the first place. Now, for me personally, you know, lots of things have gone wrong in my life. We've all got our stories. You know, you lads are well accustomed to what mine is. So, watching West Ham for me was my one release. It was the one thing that I was looking forward to during the week, and you know, I'd get myself built up every single time. Pixie dust and fairy farts. And then just feel so down. And the down, when we would get spanked, I'd be down for days. I'd be down for days. The reality of it, it really brought me down.
Yeah, I agree. Stu, was you the same this season? You felt like that?
Well, you know, before even a ball was kicked, I said, we're down this season, we're relegated.
You did, you called it.
We're relegated. And as Martin alluded to, it's been on the cards for the last few years, to be honest. I agree with the pair of you. I wasn't like Martin with a pixie dust and fairy farts for every game, but that optimism was there. But then, as soon as you see the first kick of a ball, you think, oh no, not more of this shit. Please, for fuck's sake. You know, and then you're praying, please don't fuck. Oh no, they've scored all fucking ready. You know what I mean? And I just, what the fucking hell's going on? Like, you know, something needs to be done. But what can you fucking do with our timper owners? They won't invest. They won't get a decent fucking manager in, or you know. And it was just. Then, as Martin said, afterwards, you just switch off the box or whatever, like, and you think, I've had enough. Fuck it. I've had enough. I'm not going to watch another game. I'm not going to. And I'd be like, you'd be like that something like 3-4 days. And then slowly, as the next game started to come around, you think, oh, I'll give it another go. Go on, I'll give it another go. And that optimism's there, and you give it another go, and then it's just like fucking a perpetual loop, you know. It was, and when we did have a win, Jesus Christ, did I celebrate it? Did I celebrate it? You know. But even when we scored, I didn't celebrate because I always watch football with neighbours, you know, Jim and Darren, and West Ham score, and I wouldn't celebrate because now what I'm looking for is I'm looking at the ref's reaction. I'm looking at VAR, and I'm just inevitably VAR take a look at it, and you just can't. There's just no enjoyment. So we've gone down. I think it will be the making of us. I think this will be the making of us. I think we will come back stronger. Obviously, for reasons, you know, what's happened. We've got rid of the fucking whore bags disappeared, and now the little midget's gone. You know, I'm very, very optimistic for next season. The bookies has got us down as outright winners. I think if we can keep the core of our squad, and it's true that we're keeping Alvarez and he's coming back, I think we might have a chance of winning that league. But we need to keep the core of that team together, and we need to invest wisely. We've got to invest. There's no two ways about it. We've got to bring players in. But what I'm really looking forward to, no fucking VAR.
I agree with you, Stu, but like, can I take you guys back?
And players can tackle.
Yeah. Can we just, before we come on to the championship, I know like we're doing things in retrospect here, but like, let's say I reckon at least 70 to 8% of the fan base at the end of David Moyes' tenure, they wanted him out, didn't they? Most people wanted him out. Yeah. And he was a defensive coach. Yeah. So this is going to come on to this season. And then we brought in Lopetegui, I think was a goalkeeper, weren't he? But very defensive-minded coaches. I don't know what happened with Potter. We all know that Potter really, from the moment he come in, he never really stood a chance. And then he brought in Nuno. We know he didn't have to pay for no one. But all them were defensively minded. But I think it was our first half of the season, which eventually cost us because we couldn't defend. Everyone knew that to put a ball in the box, we didn't know what to do with the keeper. We didn't know if he could punch it out. We brought Ed Madsen in. We played him for X amount of games. Then we dropped him. If you're going to have a defence, you want a defence with your two backs. Let's say we're going to, your two and your one at the back. So like your goalkeeper and your four in front of you. You've got to know when the keeper's going to come, when the keeper's going to punch. They've got to hear him. You've got to know who's, when the keeper, if the keeper wants to play as a bit of a sweeper. And because we had 4 defensive managers, of all the things I didn't think we would struggle with would be in defence. But do you think inevitably, Martin, that's what cost us the early start of the season with the defence?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a factor, but the reality is we weren't really scoring many goals either. So, Stu said on more than one occasion, to win a game, you need to score a goal. So, there's no doubt that we had an issue defensively. Going back to what you said about like David Moyes and stuff, David Moyes started going downhill because all of his backroom, you think about the years that he was with us, gradually over his tenure, literally everyone left him. He was probably the loneliest manager in the fucking league. All of them left by the end of it. He's got the majority of them back now with him at Everton. But defensively, I mean, it's ironic, isn't it? You bring in these people, apart from Lopetegui, who was brought in as a defensive manager and told that he had to play attacking football. How did that work out for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But my point of the matter is, Martin, we couldn't look. We've over and over and over and done it about Kilman. Was he 6'6"? You said, Martin Kilman. And he's scared to head the ball. I know there's a lot of things going around with this Alzheimer's now and players, whether that's played on his mind. But, just take charge of the box. Forget your man marking. Forget your hybrid marking. Forget zonal marking. Your biggest man in the box, when them throws come in, like mine. You're not allowed to say mine, by the way, because the referee will blow up. You've got to say your names. You've got to say Kilburns, whatever he wants to call himself, But he seemed to be too scared. We eventually got Tobido and Mav together, which helped out a little bit. But then the best thing that happened to us all season, and I hope we keep him, was Diazi coming in because he brought that skill. He brought that skill to the team. He brought that fist pump to the goalkeeper, the chest pumps when they stopped a ball on the line, when they stopped a corner. It just brought that ethic of teamwork, which I think through Lopetegui's tenure, that's where the splits in the dressing room started. You remember we had the splits with the tear up with Tobido and Alvarez, Kudus and Alvarez. Not Alvarez, Kudus and Lopetegui, Alvarez and Lopetegui. There was actually 4 that actually nearly had or did have physical altercations.
Tobido did whack him, didn't he?
Well, we also had that problem at an away game where the police was called to the dressing room. Do you remember?
Yeah.
The police got called to our dressing room, the away game, because of what had gone on. But I do think that was... I'm not sticking up for Sullivan here or go, because we'll speak about what's gone on with him and Kretinsky at the end. But at that point when that happened, he was a new manager that come in, Lopetegui. Sullivan, as a chairman, should have gone, right, you either back the manager or you back the player. If you back the player, the manager goes. If you back the manager, the player goes. At that point, he should have been fired from the squad because it caused a rift in the team. Kudus and Bowen stopped passing it together. I mean, when he's gone, everyone was worried about him going, worrying about Paqueta going. Have they set the world on fire? But I do think as the season went on, we sort of picked it up. Stu's been crying out for 2 up front, and we got Pablo and Tati in. And it revitalised us. We got people that wanted to run for the ball. It created space for Bowen. It created space for Somerville. At one point, Somerville looked like one of the best players in the league, didn't he? Unfortunately for us, he got injured. And really, the last 7 or 8 games of the season, when we really needed him, he wasn't the same player, was he, Stu?
Yeah. No, he did start to get it back. Yeah, it was a shame about the Somerville. That was against Villa, wasn't it? He played on the right. And everybody back then was thinking, why the fuck did he put him on the right? But where the Holland playing? On the right. And each game, he scored. So, I mean, if we keep Somerville, he's got to go on the right. Move Bowen over to the left.
Oh, put our captain on the left. I can't see that working.
Well,
Bowen prefers the right.
To be honest, I don't want to knock Bowen because he's been a good servant for us. He really has. But he's not a captain.
No, can I? I'll tell you what, Stu. Sorry, Martin, before I come to you. When we had, and I know, like, we can't go back. We're old bowling boys, you know. We probably was alive in 1895, you know, when lots happened. But for crying out loud, you know, you 100% need someone that's going to go through brick walls, is going to pull other people, you know, when someone's doing something to you, one of your players, and niggling one of your players. Someone like a Bonds, do you know what I mean? Who all the players are going to respect, they're going to look to him. I mean, they said to Trevor Brooking once, why on earth? Sorry, why did you have such a long career and didn't you have so many injuries? He went, because I had Billy Bonds. He went, when people used to take me out, he went, Bonds used to go over there and threaten them, or like give him a job at half time. And with Bowen, I don't think he's got that. I think Mark Noble to a degree at it. But even with Deck didn't have that nasty streak in him, did he, Martin?
No, but, you know, sadly, the game's gone a bit soft, hasn't it? You know, we're not allowed to have them kind of characters in the game now. So, you know, it's changed. You know, I miss them kind of players. You know, for me, you know, Martin Allen in the centre of midfield was
mad dog.
Watch. You know, loved the bloke. You know, wasn't afraid to put a tackle in, and you know, he led by example. You know, so I think we've lacked leaders.
Yeah.
100%.
Stu, if I had to ask you now, for me personally, if it's true that Diazi has said the door's open, come and get me, pay me enough money, and I will, you know, come next season, I'd have him all day long as captain. I'll take all the responsibility off of Bowen, take all the pressures, the outside pressures, all the stuff you've got to do for the corporate stuff when you're captain. Take it off him. Go, Bowen, go and express yourself. You've probably got 3-4 more years, if you're lucky, your legs hold out. Express yourself and have a field day. Who would you go as captain, Stu?
I agree with you, mate. If we could keep hold of Diassi, he'd get it all day long. He'd get it all day long. I'll give it to him because he's not scared, you know, of having a front up with anybody. You know what I mean? He showed that in that last half of the season for us, you know, and every time, you know, because when I first heard, when we first approached him, he said, yeah, I'll come to you, but I want a guaranteed start. I've got to start every game unless I'm injured. And he was promised that, and I thought, oh, no. And that was just around the time when Mavropanos and Todibo was starting to gel a little bit. I thought, oh, fucking hell, here we go. You know, and they dropped Todibo, and I thought, oh, for fuck's sake. Because, you know, early on with Mavropanos, I kept calling him Mavropony, you know. And Yassi come in, and from the moment he put on a West Ham shirt, I don't think he's let the club down whatsoever. He has not let West Ham down. He's not let us down, the fans, and that's you know, and that's what I like to see. And I do think as well, like you say about Bowen, if it was took from him, I think we'd see more of the old Jared Bowen back. Because I think this captaincy has really stunted him. It's pulled him back. Like it's like putting a kid on fucking reins. You know what I mean? And that's what they've done, giving him that. You know, it was nice to give it to him, but it's just put reins on him, and it is, you know, yeah.
I agree, Martin. You with the captaincy, we don't really know staying or going. It's all supposition at the moment, but you know, as it is, would you keep Bowen or would you change him, the captain, and give him free reins to do what he wants?
It's a tough one because realistically, he's not the kind of person that I'd want to be our captain. However, the fact that we've gone in and we've made him captain, I think it's going to be really hard to take that away now. If he was to leave, then it'll be, you know, it'll make our choices an awful lot easier. But if he's staying at the club, I can't see an alternate universe where he's stripped that captaincy. regardless of what our opinions are of how we think it's affected him, you know, we don't know. We don't know how the captaincy's affected him. But what I do know is that I want my captain to be vocal. I want to see him up there, and I want to see him put banging heads together. And I don't think he's that kind of individual. Now, he could well be in the changing rooms. We don't know that, do we? But from what I see on the pitch, he's not the man for me. But I love the man, I really do. I don't want to see him go, but you know, when it comes to leading out our boys, you know, the captain of our club, you know, if we're talking about changing captaincy, then maybe he's got to go.
Yeah, I agree. Boys, before we go on to what's happened recently, and we all know what's come on, we will come on to that, I suppose. There's rumours now that, well, it's not rumours, it's actual fact that Brady's put a load of blocks on stuff coming off about her. And so I'm sure there's more to come on that story. But like Stu and yourself, Martin, have been crying out for some youth to come through. Do you think this season that Nuno will change tact and go back to using the youth and bring some of the youth players through? And or do you think if he's been told by whoever's in charge running the reins, we don't know if Sullivan's doing it in the background, we really don't know if it's Kretinsky, or do you think they say there's a bit of money, get us up at first whack? Martin?
It's tough, mate, because you know, and until we know exactly what's happening with the club, whether a director of football's coming in and he gets full reins, and Nuno's being told, you know, this is what you're being told and this is what you've got to do. If he continues the way that he did last season, you know, regardless of how much of an upturn we had in the second half, some of the decisions and the mistakes that he made, his lack of in-game management, if he does that, we're going to get cooked, plain and simple. You know, we need to go with the mentality of we're going to go gung-ho in this league. We're going to go for it and we want to win this league. And to do that, we've got to score goals. And I've not seen him with that approach.
No, I do agree with you, Martin. But I tell you something, because you can tackle and the referees do let a lot more go, I think we've got to get some grit and bone in the middle, the centre in the middle. I mean, Fernandez, it looks 900% that he's going to go if we get the right money. But I think we need some. I'm not going to mention Souček, that's for another show. But Stu, can you see him using the youth, or do you just think he's going to stay as he does normally and try and buy some cheap players in?
Well, the thing is with Nuno, if we bring in a director of football, and rumour has it it's that lady from Newcastle,
that's not happening.
It's not, no. Right, okay. Well, if we get a director of football, can I see Nuno, even though he's told you've got to work? I can't see him working under director of football. He didn't at Forest. That's what caused the split with him at Forest. So I find that very hard to look past that, so to speak. But if he can work, I think yes, he's going to want to bring someone in. Right, he's going to want to bring one or two. Where I don't know, but I do think he will use the likes of our academy. I mean, they're not youth anymore; they're fucking young men, and a lot of them are tried and tested already in the English Football League. Not so much in the Championship, but in 1 and 2. You know what I mean? They've been playing there for a long while now. So they're used to playing men. They're young men themselves. And I think we've got a few that could do a job for us. But you've got to put your trust in them. This is the thing. You've got, when you put them in, you've got to trust them and let them do their thing.
The thing that we need to do is to have a solid spine of Premier League proven players that can do the job and that are reliable, the solid spine of the team. Then you could bring in the younger players. Now, when we're talking about younger players, if you're talking about the Potses and the Skulls, now, they're not kids anymore.
No.
You know, at the end of the day, these people, either they're going to show up, show what they've got, and they're going to make a name for themselves, or they're going to end up going somewhere. Because it ain't going to be with us. A lot of these kids are not kids anymore. They're young men. So now's the time for them to shine. But they need to do it in conjunction with some old heads. So we need a little bit of, as I like to say, balance.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think this year I've looked back at in history of teams that have gone down and what their fan base has been when they've gone down. And for the first season, it's, believe it or not, it's not, they don't drop off much. I mean, there's some of the clubs like Sunderland and Newcastle, when they went down, still filled their grounds up. You know, great fans, the Geordies. I do think we are going to have a target on our back for every team that comes to the London Stadium. They already know, you know, what the Souls Bowl, as everyone likes to call it. And I think, you know, like, should we say, when Arsenal come this year, or Man United or Man City, we wanted to beat them, didn't we? And I think every single team will be going out like gung-ho to beat West Ham. I also think they're going to bring a lot of fans, which it might make it a bit more atmosphere in the ground. Now, guys, I look, we can discuss it or we don't, but I think we need to talk about it. We know what's happened with Sullivan. There was rumours going round for God knows how long that this happened. Stu talk about, you know, he got bird a few years back for living off immoral earnings. And lo and behold, it came out on the Panorama programme, what had happened, didn't it? You know, and then it came out in the Times, in the Guardian. And as a West Ham fan, you know, you look back through history and you think, God, is there worse things that can happen? You know, the Premier League themselves and the FA allowing someone with that background and knowing full well, I mean, I can't remember a lot of the stuff with the sport. How on earth was he allowed to control a football club? By the government, by the police, Met Police, Essex Police, I don't know. But it's all come out and he's gone. Now, suddenly he's gone, we've gone down, and we know that Kretinsky had 27% shares. He bought them at a certain price, and apparently that price was frozen. No matter how well we did, he could have bought X amount for another time. Now, obviously, we've gone down. And there's rumour has it he's buying it. There's rumour having it with his Staveley. I really hope this just wasn't a power play from Kretinsky to get the shares at a different price. We know he's an investor. We have been told now by certain channels that we're going to get new training grounds. He's hoping to change the pitch. We all know that we want to try and do something with the pitch. And we all know really deep down, I think the people that are governing the stadium, is it the LDDC or something to do with London, they really want it. It's like the elephant in the room, and they want it off their back. They don't want to be playing X amount, everything. Do you think Sullivan going, right? And we don't know what's happening, whether his shares are held in proxy and someone else can vote for him. We don't know. Like, none of us truly know. But do you think this is a good thing with this Kretinsky, Martin, or it just can't be any worse than Sullivan?
I mean, I've got nothing to say on Sullivan, which is going to be positive, so I'm just going to leave that. When it comes to Kretinsky, what we know is that he takes distressed assets, takes them on, and he tries to do something with them. Now, whether he's got his percentage of shares because he's going to look to do something, or whether this Staveley woman comes in and she's going to look to try and do something more dramatic, I don't know. All I want for our club is for us to be united again. Plain and simple. Yeah. Us to be united again. I want wherever we play, let's talk about, you know, how they're looking to put some standing space in for next season. Let's talk about, you know, the potential of like knocking the place down and building something different. Well, fantastic. Whatever they do, all I want is something that represents us as a fan base, something that represents West Ham United, because that's what we are. We're West Ham United, and I want our ground to be the fortress that it was before. Now, what was it? The greatest of stadiums? No, it wasn't. It wasn't the greatest of stadiums. But when we were close to that pitch, you were in touching distance of them players, and I don't know one player that was in the opposition side that said that he loved playing against West Ham at Upton Park. They just didn't. They hated it. They hated the atmosphere. These boys that are going to be coming to play against us next season, it's going to be a day out for them. They're going to love it. it's like a neutral ground. Now, we on our day, we can have a voice, and it does get loud in there, and we can be vocal. But it's nothing to like what we had. So there needs to be some form of changes that are done for the better.
I agree. Stu, you agree with Martin on everything you said?
Yeah, I do really. You know, I'd like to say I don't talk about Sullivan or Brady because I don't want to get this video shut down in my views. So I will keep that stum, you know, my views anyway. Yeah, I agree with you, mate, on the ground. If it's true, Kuczynski's supposed to have, is it 42 point something now shares? So he's the majority shareholder. And Stavely, from what I hear, she's looking at buying majority of the gold shares. Because they want to be left shares because it's a legacy for their dad, you know. They want to leave a legacy sort of thing. If it happens, it's not going to be a quick fix. I mean, because I've heard that Kuczynski, that they don't want to knock the stadium down. They want to rip that fucking roof off, which should have come off years ago because it's falling apart up there. Put a new roof on and totally gut the inside and turn it into a football stadium. Which means,
Dude, can I just ask you, where does the investment come for that to happen?
Well,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But if Kuczynski has got this plan in his head, because he talks to the LLDC, right? Before, our lot didn't. They didn't talk to him, right? Kuczynski talks to them. And as Martin said, he's an investor. He likes going in on something that looks a bit iffy, a bit dodgy, you know, also that's swoop in, buy that and build it back up and make some fucking bunts, mate. Make some bunts. And he knows that if he can get that, well, the London Stadium, right, off of the LLDC or whatever they're fucking called, get that, buy that. Him and whoever he puts together to invest the money in to buy it, right? They have then got so much bloody land, so much land that they can build on hotels, businesses, homes, that they can make a fucking fortune, mate, billions. Obviously, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, you know.
No,
but I just don't know. I don't know.
For the right investor, if you're willing to put in the pounds, shillings, and pence, you're going to make an absolute killing.
Yeah.
I agree, but listen, boys, I spoke to a couple of Newcastle fans, and I spoke this about Amanda Staveley. You know, she come in, and they just before I go on about Staveley, you know, like she's linked to the Arabs, that sort of area. That's where the money is. This investment fund. Would it bother you if they come in? Just yes or no, Stu?
No.
Martin?
No.
No, I mean, what they've done is that a lot of people are not happy at Newcastle, the fans. I think we're too fickle as football fans anyway, but they've done a lot of work outside in the infrastructure. So really, in another 4 or 5 years, the Newcastle team itself should start benefiting from the infrastructure that's gone in. But a lot of them have said they've not benefited how they thought they would have done from Staveley. Now, I spoke with Stu about this, and Stu said they should have got rid of Eddie Hearn. Eddie Howe. He took us so far. He took us so far at Newcastle, and he couldn't take them any further. Sadly, I do tend to agree with you on that because I think as an Englishman, I would have liked Eddie Howe to be an England team manager, but it weren't to happen. But I do agree, and I think that's the only way they will invest to do something with that stadium if they're allowed to sell the land around it, Stu. I really do. I just, because of the way he is and what Kuczynski does, you know, knows, you know, when everyone was going away from coal and getting away from the coal mines, he bought them all up. Like when old oil fields, he bought them all up. Now he's bought the Royal Mail. When everyone's sending digital messages and not sending letters anymore, he's bought it up. Sainsbury's, he's bought into Sainsbury's. But listen, I hope it goes for the, you know, I hope it goes for the boys. Now, boys,
tell you what, Duggy, just a quick one, Duggy. Yeah, I had my mail, the post come through the other day, and I kid you not, this was 2 days ago, the post come through. I had a letter dated the 23rd of fucking December.
You're lucky, mate. 6 months in Spain. You're lucky to get anything.
23rd of December, man. Honestly, ridiculous.
Guys, listen. I don't know if anybody knows about the championship this year. They're changing the rules. Yeah, they are gonna. The top 8 will. The top 2 will automatically go up into the Premier League. 3 and 4 go into the semis, and 5, 6, 7, 8 play off against each other, and then they play 3 and 4. Now, surely, although we're favourites to win the league, do you really believe we'll get in the top 8 this season, Stu?
Well, you know what I've said before.
Yeah, but that was with Sullivan's stage, Stu. If Kretinsky pays the money to keep certain players, and a lot of them, don't forget, a lot of these players, we've said it before, some are money mercenaries. If they have to lose half their money, they're not going to stay. But apparently,
if we keep the core and keep a decent spine and invest and use the academy as well correctly, right, I can see us winning the league.
A bold statement. Martin, do you agree with Stu?
I'm buying into what they've told us. They've told us that their goal is to come back at the first time of asking. Their goal is to win the championship. To do that, they must have an idea in place of what they're looking to do. Now, if they're going to sell all their best assets, we're going to struggle.
Yeah.
If you bring in a whole squad of different players, we're going to struggle. That's just the reality of it. It ain't going to work. So if they've got plans of trying to keep hold of the best players, bring in a few older heads that can do a job, maybe bring in some younger players with more energy, more aggression, there's no reason why we can't. To win that league, they've got to go for it. And to go for it, they need to have power, pace, and have the testicular fortitude to win games.
It took you 42 minutes to get that in.
Oh, there you go.
You know, honestly, I mean, listen, the Spurs fans are not happy. That, you know, they got a big ground. Daniel Levy built it for 2 billion, all low-cost loans. That no one knows how he did it, you know. But there's lots of events going on. They said it'd be 5 events a year. All the money goes to the team. Next year, there's 30 events planned at Tottenham, and none of it so far has gone to the team. What I want to see, right? I want to see when we come over, like they didn't let people that stood together from the bowling, did they, sit together? And there was a lot of fighting amongst ourselves, weren't they? People weren't sitting next to the same people, and like they got the And just recently, we've seen like there's been a lot of infighting between West Ham groups and West Ham fans and West Ham channel. I want to see something like you said earlier on, Martin, that we do eventually come West Ham United. When you went away games years ago, and away games where most of the fun was, you was like, Stuart always calls it tribal. It was more like a tribal. You weren't like a West Ham fan. But I also want the club to treat West Ham fans like fans. I think in the last 7, 8 years, David Sullivan and Karen Brady have treated us like clients. They've not treated us like fans. They've not respected us as fans. And we are the future of the club, but not us. Our age of not the future of the club. My grandchildren go to the Bobby Moore School, which is aligned next door to the stadium itself. There was a stabbing incident at the school earlier on in the year, and all the kids had to go on the pitch. They had to go in certain sections, like a fire drill, but all the kids had to go in there. None of them kids get free tickets. Now and again throughout the season, if they can't sell a game, I want them to get the children involved because they are going to be the future of our clubs. Get the seats, get some standing where the kids can get involved. And if we do build a stadium, have stuff downstairs where there's computers. I don't like computer games, all that. I really don't. But have stuff like that for kids downstairs. Have somewhere where they can take penalties at so-and-so. Have machines who can kick a ball the hardest, you know. Get stuff kids in because the children of today, the ones coming up, 7, 8, 9, 10, like us, when you said you started going to do and started it in 75, they are the future of our club. And that is my worry at the moment with all the infighting, all the problems, and being treated like clients, not like fans. It has turned a lot of people away from West Ham, especially the legacy fans. If you look at the likes of a lot that stopped going, then people would take their grandkids. Then people would take their kids. It was my uncle that took me. So then people that have stopped going, they've stopped bringing the next generation of fans, and there is so much more for children outside now. You know, they're quite happy to sit in. My boy's 26. He could quite happily sit in on his computer all day long and never go out again. I want us to be treated like fans again and be part of that club. That's all I hope. What is your hopes for the future? Let's make out it is Kretinsky and some, you know, there's someone involved. We know that. But what would your plans like to be for the club, Martin, for the future before we finish?
Just for us to be united. I want us to be West Ham United, not West Ham London, because we're not West Ham London, we're West Ham United. Yeah. That is what I want more than anything. I want us to be all singing off the same hymn sheet. I don't want to give a fuck about the board. I don't want to worry about the board. I don't want to think about what they're doing upstairs. I want to be able to look at a team sheet, look at the manager, watch and enjoy football without worrying about what's happening at board level. That's what I want. I want decent people being brought in that know how to run the business and to just be able to enjoy it the way that other clubs do.
Yeah.
The amount of aggravation and stuff that we've had to put up with over the years, I just want it done with now.
They got to keep away fans out of the home fans as well.
And I was thinking this when Duggy mentioned that. Yeah, I want season tickets. Yeah, season tickets that go out to people that are West Ham fans, not tickets that go on general sale where any Tom, Dick, and Harry. If we had 55,000 stay at stadium, yeah, I reckon, with all honesty, and this, I don't think this is far-fetched, I reckon that we will fill it week in, week out with our own fans.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
And then you are going to get one hell of an atmosphere.
Yeah.
What would be your thought for the future of our club as it is now, mate?
Well, I just want to see, as Martin says, I want to see West Ham United, and I want to see us playing attractive football, some sort of attacking football. You know, win, lose or draw. Back in the day, it didn't matter because the boys had come out and under that tunnel, it's got the claret and blue shirt on, and they would put in a fucking shift.
And you know that they left it all on the pitch.
Exactly. And even if we lost, you didn't. Yes, well, here we go. We lost again, boys. What are we doing tonight then? You know what I mean? And you start planning, you're going to go out to Camden or somewhere to a club. You know what I mean?
It would be nice to have a season that starts off well and got positivity from start to bloody finish.
But what they should do as well, the legacy fans, they're still there. They're still out there. The club know who the fuck they are, right? The club need to get their asses in gear, and all the people that used to sit with one another, put them back together. Let them sit with one another. You know, and you'll get that atmosphere. You'll get that camaraderie. You know what I mean? And I just want to see West Ham be West Ham again. And as Martin says, stop worrying about what's going on above the manager.
What do you want, Duggy?
I just want to see the manager down, and that's it. I don't want to see manager up, manager down.
No, I mean, look, we all know that, you know, everyone's screamed. By the way, guys, that's our name going across the bottom. West Ham United 1895. Please subscribe. I've just felt, like I said to you at the start of the season, Martin, I got frustrated. I wanted to back Nuno, but he did make strange decisions, didn't he? Yeah. I've got to be honest, at the end of the season, if they, like, you know, apparently he's got a massive bonus if we go up. Well, I hope he lost a load of money for taking us down. Whoever it is, you know, we've got to buy into his ethos and we've got to support him. He's there now. Let's hope he's there for the season. Let's hope he does the right thing. I just want to be happy being a West Ham fan again.
That's Martin. What we need as well, is stability.
Yeah. But you know what it was, Stu? You said about earlier on, you got the ump on a Saturday, we lost. Years ago, we go to a game, and let's not, you know, sometimes we had some stinking games. I was over there against Lincoln on a midweek game. There was 9,000 of us there. You know, it was an awful game. But, like, you come out and you moaned about it with your mate. You went to work on Monday. Invariably, if you lost, you got stick with your workmates, didn't you? Your workmates would give you a load of stick. By Wednesday, you forgot about it. You couldn't wait to go. You would talk to your mates, where you're going to meet. Should we go on the train? Should we go on the bus? You know, should we go here first, have a beer? The problem with football as it is at the moment it gets overanalyzed. It gets overanalyzed by Sky. They all wear these tops. You know, Martin and I, we had a disagreement about Souček. You know, he runs 12 kilometers a game. The whole of football gets overanalyzed, and it's taken the fun out of it. There'll be things happening in a game we won't even notice about a player, and we think we wouldn't have worried about it earlier on. If they left their shirt and their art on the pitch, we was happy about it. Now I'm just sick of it. You know, if we bought a newspaper and we read something, after the football reporters, do you remember they used to leave 10 minutes before the end? They'd write their little laptop out and go, and then if someone scored, they'd have to ring someone who stayed.
They'd find a phone box,
overanalyzed.
They'd have to find a phone box.
Just a game. It's just a game of two halves, boys. I want to enjoy football. My love of football's gone. I've got to be honest, mate, and I've got to say, this World Cup, I've not bought into. If Bayern would have gone, I probably would have been a bit more excited. I did watch the Holland game because of some of it winning. I remember watching Scotland's game, Frankie Mack's first game for Scotland when he got called up. I actually went and watched it, and he scored a goal on his debut for Scotland the first time, because I like to follow West Ham players. I want to get the love of the game back, but I also want the club to, like I said, I want the club to love the fans. Boys, it's been a fascinating first video. Please like, please subscribe. Guys, write in the comments what you like. Be respectful. If you don't like them, Stu's going to delete them anyway. Stu, take us out. Great first recording, boys. We're going to try and do 1 or 2 of these a week. Take us out, Stu.
Take care. Stay safe. Stay lucky, my friends. Come on, you Irons.